Well, it's time for a little Tech Talk now, Wednesday, our weekly dispatches from the world of technology. Starting with word that popular photo-sharing website Instagram has topped 100 million users. Imagine, people getting hooked on taking pictures of themselves and their friends, tweaking them, giving them that retro look, and sending them out online. Instagram, of course, owned by Facebook. It was bought by Facebook for $1 billion last year. Big question, as with many of these sites, can Instagram actually make any money? And if so, how? Our tech gurus today. Elias Makos is standing by in Montreal and Peter Nowak in Toronto. So, Elias, is this a sign that Instagram has sort of gotten past some of those privacy screw-ups we saw in the last couple of months?
Well, it's certainly a sign that, their privacy snafu that happened didn't really affect them. As much as people thought that people would bail on Instagram, that's not the case. This is the second time that they've announced they've reached 100 million users. This time, though, it's active users, which is much more important. And I think this move has turned out very well for Facebook. Not only have they made Instagram better, but Instagram has made Facebook better on the mobile front.
Peter, what's your take? Of how big Instagram could actually become? And I guess more importantly, how does it actually make any money?
Yeah, well, I guess the rate at which it's growing, I think they had something like under 40 million users at the time when Facebook bought them. So they've more than doubled that, which is pretty impressive. So how big can they go? Who knows? As far as making money, that's it's like a lot of these web services. They basically start up and they get the users first, and then they decide how to make money. I think it could be a very complicated way for them to make money. If you just stretch your imagination, one way they could do it is by identifying what people do in their photos. So you take a picture of your hamburger, and some sort of image recognition software identifies that and says, hey, here's some hamburger places nearby. Of course, does Instagram or Facebook have that technology? I don't know if they do. The leader in this area, in this sort of image recognition area, is somebody like Google, which, again, it's kind of shocking that Facebook bought them. You would have thought that Google would have made a much better buyer last year.
Yeah, Elias, if I was to put you in charge of how to monetize Instagram, what would you do?
Well, Instagram's part of Facebook, and if Instagram can add value to Facebook and just get more people using the product, I think, they don't necessarily have to go and be that aggressive in advertising just yet or in the near future in order to make it worthwhile for Facebook. Facebook is making their mobile products even better, and I think we've all seen it in Facebook. Just more and more ads have appeared in our news feed on our mobile devices. So, I think long term, we are going to see ads in an Instagram news feed. That's without question. I guess the question is when.
Okay, some big strides in e-commerce also happening this week. Samsung coming out with its wallet, that's the term it's given to it, and BlackBerry is testing out a new system. The wallet, of course, will allow you to sort of deal with coupons and good deals, and eventually you'll be able to maybe do financial transactions. Well, BlackBerry testing the system out in Indonesia using its BBM messaging system, Insta Messenger, for cash transfers. We know Indonesia is a huge market for BlackBerry right now. Peter, you start this off here. Lots of hype out there. Is this the future? No cash, no cards, just devices?
I think so. I think over the next 2 years, we're going to see some really interesting things happen in this because you have so many different players coming at this from so many different perspectives. Everybody's trying to differentiate their services, whether we're talking about cell phone companies or whether we're talking about the handset makers themselves. So trying to get some sort of mobile payments system integrated into their phones is a good way for all of them to do that. The player to watch in this space, once again, I think is Google, because I think Google's coming at this from a very different perspective. They don't necessarily need to differentiate Android from say BlackBerry or iPhone. The goldmine for Google is, and this is where privacy advocates are probably getting really nervous, is for Google to see all of those financial transactions that their users are making, not necessarily to do anything shady with it, but to basically gather that data and to further their own advertising, their whole advertising business. It's a really fascinating route for them to take.
What about, Elias, security concerns here? Is this sort of stuff safe? When I heard about BBM Messenger, I was thinking, it's kind of an interesting concept. But again, even with near-field communications and your credit card or your debit card, is it really safe when you're talking about instant debiting of your accounts?
Well, I think it's as safe as any other method that's out there. So, I think everyone watching us now has been a victim of swiping their credit card or their debit card somewhere and then having the bank call them the next day saying, hey, you've used this in a place and your card has been cloned. So, I think it's going to be safer than that, hopefully. And this is a space that everyone wants to get into, as Peter mentioned. And there's no question. I think over the next 2 years, we're going to see a big fight between the banks and between the cell phone manufacturers and the carriers. I mean, Rogers, Bell, TELUS, they also want to get involved in this. So I don't think we're going to be getting rid of our plastic cards in North America anytime soon.
All right, finally, a Napster-style scenario in the United States with some lessons for those of us in Canada. Authorities in the States cracking down on file sharing. People who are sharing songs, music with others online. Offenders, apparently, once they are found, will get a maximum of up to 6 warning letters. Peter, what do you make of this?
It's really funny to see these sorts of things develop because they pop up here and there in different countries and they just don't ever seem to work. Other countries have had these 3 strikes you're out kind of rules. There's no evidence that it deters file sharing. In fact, there was just a report out earlier this week that really the best way to deter file sharing is through actual legal services. The music industry has finally seen a very slight uptick in its revenues. And that's because of services like Spotify and Pandora. Whereas, so trying to crack down on this side, it's just not working. Anybody who shares files is just going to encrypt their traffic, and where does that get anybody?
Yeah, Elias. I mean, file sharing is rampant. Canada particularly bad.
Yeah, and there's always a way around, measures put in place. Listen, I do like 6 strikes as opposed to, hey, let's just sue anyone and everyone. I think for people in the States that have had big lawsuits put against them, and we've seen single parents get $300,000 judgments against them. So I think that this is just a better solution. 6 strikes is better than no strikes, but it won't stop piracy. The best way to stop piracy is to have competition that is cheap and easy to use. And this is why we're seeing subscription services with music take off. It's $9, $10 a month, but they're really easy to use and you have access to everything. And this is why we're seeing them take hold in the US and here in Canada.
Otherwise, it becomes like whack-a-mole. I want to thank both of you for being on the panel. Elias Mackos in Montreal, Peter Nowak in Toronto. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
You're welcome.